being at home and doing another pole position after Monza. With Eddie together on the front row, it can't be better, definitely, and we obviously hope now to bring that over into the race.
I think it was just less successful today, you know. It was not very good, but you know, it's got to be exciting and difficult.
Mika Häkkinen's led the charge all year, but grim faces reflect McLaren's mood as Ferrari gallop away in qualifying. They've been waiting 19 years for a world champion. Now Michael Schumacher's odds on to take them back to the top. Election day in Germany. Nearly 150,000 people have voted to come to the Nürburgring for the Luxembourg Grand Prix, the last European race of the year. Good afternoon to you all. The World Championship could be decided here this afternoon. It's a pretty miserable old day though, cool. It's rainy, the temperature just 11 degrees. So as you probably know by now, Michael Schumacher and Mika Häkkinen locked together on 80 points apiece. The qualifying hour really reflected the second half of the season. Ferrari rocking on, McLaren playing catch-up. Louise Goodman reports.
Ferrari versus McLaren Mercedes, German driver versus German engineering. But there was no question who the local fans were cheering for, Michael Schumacher. They were briefly silenced by this spin on a track still damp from earlier rain, but Michael collected the Ferrari beautifully and carried on his way. What a shame, thought Mika Häkkinen. As the track dried, the times tumbled. First Eddie Irvine led the way, and then Heinz-Harald Frentzen put in his bid. Ralf Schumacher was up there too. But all eyes were on McLaren as Häkkinen looked for the first sub 1 minute 20 lap. And he found it. Michael Schumacher's response was simply awe-inspiring, almost 9/10 inside Häkkinen's best.
Yes, that was a tremendous lap because Schumacher was fighting the car all the way around, using absolutely all of the track.
It was going to be tough to match the Ferrari's pace, and the McLaren team knew it. Away from the spotlight, Giancarlo Fisichella was quietly getting on with it, fourth fastest for Benetton. Damon Hill was struggling even before this spin. 10th was the best position he could muster. Not quite the glory Eddie's been enjoying of late. David Coulthard failed to get to grips with his McLaren, and a disappointing 5th place was small reward for his efforts. But what of Eddie Irvine? Schumacher's rear gunner is right up there on the German's wing, second on the grid in a career best.
Yes, my goodness, he's done it. Fabulous lap. Michael Schumacher, pole position, Eddie Irvine second.
It couldn't have turned out better. The first Ferrari front row for 3 years. But it could hardly have been worse for Häkkinen. McLaren's task will be all the harder from 3rd place on the grid. And don't they know it? It's been a dream start to the weekend for Michael Schumacher, Ferrari and Eddie Irvine.
I knew there was time in hand. I didn't think there was as much time as I find, but you know, I got sort of, I just kept creeping up, getting a little bit faster in the last lap, really pushed hard, and got a good lap, you know, and it got me on the front row, which is a nice feeling.
They went really well, and particularly Eddie. I think Eddie did fantastic. I mean, considering he was second and best position what he ever had in qualifying. I think he drove really well. Unfortunately, he's in front of me.
There must be a reason that I'm 4/10 in front. It's not because of luck, it's because we are simply faster and we have a good package and we have a good situation to fight for the championship.
So the grid sees both Ferraris up front. Irvine ideally placed to watch Schumacher's back. Mika Häkkinen still very confident, then Fisichella in the resurgent Benetton. 5th disappointing for Coulthard. Ralf Schumacher's Jordan 6, the same as Monza. Wirtz in a Williams sandwich. Damon Hill with a bad cold, frozen out to 10th. A Lacey in his 150th Grand Prix. Barrichello Stewart ahead of Herbert, his teammate next year. The Prosts, Trulli and Panis. Then the Arrows together too. Verstappen, Takagis Tyrrell ahead of the Minardis and Riccardo Rosset. And all 22 go in the second Luxembourg Grand Prix. catch you off in half an hour's time. Tony, it all looks good for Michael Schumacher. Pole position, the German crowd reign in the air as well.
And no Mercedes flags anywhere.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult for Mika Hakkinen because Irvine in that second position is out there expressly today to protect the rear end of Michael Schumacher. And Hakkinen will remember trying to get past him for second place when Ferrari did the 1-2 in France. Impossible for him to overtake. But Michael could make a bad start like he did in Monza. Mika could make a lightning start. But then they got to get through the first corner, and Michael will hope that Ralphie isn't anywhere near him.
Absolutely. Ralph Schumacher took him off at the first corner last year. I can tell you what, the bookmakers have changed their mind since that Ferrari qualifying romp. Money actually poured in on Hakkinen all week, but Michael Schumacher is the 5-4 on favourite to win today with Ladbrokes. 6-4 to win the title. Hakkinen 11-10 to become world champion. The two have clashed before in Formula 3, 1990 in Macau. 2 races. Hakkinen won the first. He needed to finish second, close to Schumacher, to win the title. James Allen tells us what happened.
Hakkinen was on pole with a 5-second lead from the first leg. All he needed to do to be the champion was to follow Schumacher home, but he wanted to win it on the road as well. Michael Schumacher takes up the story.
Wanted to overtake me, and I naturally closed the door, and he ran in the back of me as he was too close to overtake me at this moment. It was unfortunate because it wasn't necessary for him to do that, to overtake me, but I was lucky in this moment. I struggled to do this final lap because I lost quite a lot of bits out of my racing car, but I made it through the start and finish line and won the total race.
Hakkinen was distraught, but he later came to believe that Schumacher had backed off deliberately. Schumacher's brilliant but controversial career had been launched in typical style. Hakkinen hasn't forgotten the tears Schumacher made him cry that day. Now, it's payback time.
Looks like a bit of previous to me, Tony.
It's the origin of the species right there. That was classic Schumacher. He trained it in karting. It's his bare-knuckle style. And unfortunately, Mika got sucked in there very, very early. He was doing the professional jink, but Mika will remember that today if he's wheel to wheel with him, and you can see how upset Hakkinen was there. Took him days to get over that.
Absolutely. Okay, well, of course, in situations like this, the psychological strength of the two contenders is of vital importance when it comes to deciding the destiny of the World Championship. Tony's caught up with 2 great characters who both know Hakkinen and Schumacher inside out.
1982 world champion Keke Rosberg is the only Finn to take the title. 10 years ago, he started managing Mika Hakkinen. Nobody knows him better. As teammate to James Hunt, Jochen Mass was Germany's #1 until Michael Schumacher. Jochen became Michael's sports car teammate and mentor.
His main strength is that he's extremely focused, that he's got the gift of splitting the unimportant and the important. He knows what line to follow, and he's very analytical in whatever he does.
What are Mika's strengths?
He's very fast. I think that's the primary thing that you need to have when you drive Formula 1 cars. I also think that he's extremely dedicated to what he's doing. Doesn't let himself be confused about outside issues. Doesn't pay any attention actually what happens outside. Concentrates on his driving. Enjoys the driving part and does it very well, and I think he's definitely a good match for Michael.
But Schumacher only knows full throttle. Having muscled ahead in Argentina, he went in and out of the gravel trap and never lifted in Belgium despite a big lead.
I would feel perhaps that his comparative immaturity in terms of not being able to admit a fault might be a weakness.
I don't know whom he's trying to please to overdrive that way. I mean, you know, he's had a lot of offs. He's brilliant. He's very quick, but with the experience he has now, you would expect him to also learn to slow down.
The hunter doesn't always get his prey. Hakkinen soaked up the pressure in Austria, and it was Schumacher who went off making another mistake. Yet despite the setbacks, Schumacher and Ferrari bounced back to capture pole, and another Ferrari 1-2 in Monza. Michael's confidence is sky high after pole here, but Hakkinen knows he's in the lion's den.
People talk about the pressure. How is Mika handling it?
Extremely well. I think he's so little aware of what's going on and how Michael is trying to wind him up in the German press and all that. He's not aware of that, so it doesn't bother him.
I think he's got more ways of driving around the problem than Mika, who is still, of course, more tense and much more anxious to win it, with all the pressure of Mercedes, of Ron Dennis, and so on. So it's much more difficult for Mika than for Michael.
Championships come when they do, you know. You can't force the issue. And I hope he wins the championship. I think he deserves it. And if it doesn't come this year, he'll try again next year, I suppose.
Don't forget he won 2 titles, and that, of course, gives him a lot of additional confidence. You know, it's a quiet confidence. He knows, and that's his, I think, one of his great assets too. He knows where he is, and he can, if he thinks he can do it, he will do it.
Häkkinen and Schumacher tied on 80 points. Häkkinen can clinch the title today if he wins and Schumacher fails to score, because Häkkinen's ahead on second place finishes. Great scrap as well in the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari just 10 points behind McLaren. Williams, Benetton and Jordan battling for that third place. Jordan, by the way, have scored the same as Ferrari in the last 4 races, 28 points. In just a moment, Murray Walker will be reminiscing about the old Nürburgring, but now let's take a spin around the new circuit with a man who won here in 1995 and is odds on to win again this afternoon on the back of that brilliant drive for pole position. Here's Martin Brundle, all set to talk you around a flying lap in the company of a former teammate.
The Luxembourg Grand Prix held at the Nürburgring in Germany, 2.8 miles, not one of the greatest circuits in the world, but quite technical, quite interesting, and tends to give us a very good Grand Prix. You're on board with Michael Schumacher, the pole sitter. A nice steady exit out onto the pit straight for maximum acceleration up to 185 miles an hour. Watch the red lights on the steering wheel to tell him when to change gear. Brake hard, down 3 gears. It's tighter into turn 1 than you think. Now be careful, you can run nice and wide on the exit up the curve. It's very smooth, heading towards 3. Watch his left thumb, look. He's changed the ignition setting, 170 down to 110 for turn 3. Don't bring it fully to the left. Turn 4 ahead of you, just 75 miles an hour. Run up onto the curve. You're heading now down into the Dunlop hairpin, 175 at the bottom of the hill. Down 3 gears, then another. Front wheel locks up, no problem. He can take a late apex, play with the throttle pedal, maximum traction on the way out, turn 6 and 7. I wonder if he'll have to lift the throttle. Oh, just a little breather there, 160 miles an hour now. Bring it over to the right-hand side for turn 8. Bumpy under braking, turn in early, let the car run high. Bring it over immediately to the left for 9. Balance the throttle, just gently, correcting the car slightly. Up, using a little bit of grass on the exit. Now it's easy downhill through the bit curve, 165 miles an hour. 180 miles an hour now before the Vidal chicane. 75 metres before the corner, hit the brakes hard. Down to second, attack the curbs. Be careful with the back end on the way out, Coca-Cola curve. Now you'll see Michael Schumacher, he has a lot of understeer, the front sliding look. Gets on the throttle pedal, the back steps out, has to run wide to correct it, no problem. A supreme lap from Michael Schumacher, the fastest of the weekend.
The old Nürburgring was the world's greatest circuit. Over 14 miles of black tarmac ribbon threading its way through the glorious countryside of the Eiffel Mountains. Twisting, turning, rising and falling, it was the ultimate driver's challenge. And what a roll call of honour it created. The immortal Juan Manuel Fangio, Mike Hawthorne, Peter Collins, Jim Clark and Jackie Stewart, Niki Lauda and James Hunt thrilled the massive crowds with their virtuosity until, for safety reasons, it was no longer the home of Formula One. Now, the historic Schloss Nürburg looks down on both the Nordschleife and the new Nürburgring, home of today's Luxembourg Grand Prix.
The new 2.8-mile Nürburgring is a state-of-the-art facility which wasn't very popular when it opened in 1984, but now, as other circuits have been sanitised and ruined with second-gear chicanes, it's very popular. A fitting scene, then, for what should be an absolutely cracking race on the day Germany goes to the polls. If Michael Schumacher wins, he'll be a pushover for president.
Indeed he would, judging by the state of the parties that we've been hearing about. Well, that Ferrari 1-2 at Monza got Schumi's army in the mood. McLaren are expected to respond. Häkkinen and Coulthard quickest in the morning warm-up today. And that's our scenario as we build towards the start of the Luxembourg Grand Prix. look back with us at the Nürburgring, building towards the Luxembourg Grand Prix. These could be very special moments coming up for you now. Let's join Martin Brundle on the grid.
Good timing, Jim. I've nailed a couple of very important people. I know everybody out there, you want to know who's going to win the World Championship this year. Bernie Ecclestone, rubbing shoulders with the rich and famous. I'm surprised you're here today. I thought you'd be at Manchester United.
Well, I'm trying to get Michael to come and play for Manchester United, but he's so interested in this Formula One and winning the World Championship. I don't know what to ask him. Maybe we can convince him.
Hang on a minute. So what do you think's better? People going round and round in circles, 22 guys going round and round in circles at 200 miles an hour, or 22 guys chasing a bag of air around a field?
He's a football man. He really at heart is a footballer.
You think he's the main... well, Bernie's allegedly supposed to be buying a football team in United Kingdom, Manchester United.
Already?
You thought he had already?
Yeah, because he made me an offer already, so I thought it's done.
Yeah, well, you're used to operating in the red anyway. So, in all seriousness, Michael, you know, this World Championship, you want it badly, you missed it just last year. You know, can you take it?
I'll try. I mean, we have a good situation. We're strong from a team side. Made some very good improvements on the car side, so we have a good opportunity. But you know, luck is some proportion of it, and I hope we're gonna be lucky.
Have you been working on your starts to get the thing off the line?
Yeah, wait and see.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to that then. Thanks, Michael. Sorry to hold you up. Bernie, who's going to win the World Championship?
This one, I think.
Why?
Well, if it rains in here, he's got a super chance, and it's a good chance of it raining in Japan, and you know how good he is in the wet. That's why he's a footballer.
Okay, right. Well, that confused me. I don't know if it confused you. Okay, well, I wonder who else has got an opinion on who's going to... Keith, you're the wisest man on this on this grid. Who's going to win the World Championship?
Well, my heart says Hakkinen, but my head says Schumacher.
You heard it first here on ITV. That's Keith's view, and he's very rarely is Keith wrong. I want to get one more, because I think they were slightly biased, those two. I want to get one more opinion of who's going to win this World Championship. Just swanning around in... Tremendous atmosphere down here on the grid because, you know, obviously it could be won today by Mika Hakkinen. I think most people here are hoping it's going to go down to the wire in Japan. I just want to find one more person. Have a look, Keith. Who can you see? There must be somebody around here who's got a valid, worthwhile opinion on who's going to win this World Championship. Follow me. We'll go down a little bit further. Ron Dennis, do you think he would be unbiased? Let's have a word with the boss man of McLaren. Ron, any chance? We've just heard from Bernie and Michael that they think Michael's going to win the World Championship. What's your view?
It's never over until it is over, and it's certainly not going to be over here no matter what the outcome is. Even if Michael wins and we don't finish, we can still win the World Championship by turning that around in Suzuka. So this race is another race for us. It's an important race.
In a word, can Mika take this championship?
Of course he can.
Okay, there you have it. Back to you in the studio, Jim.
Well done down there, Martin. I don't know about Michael Schumacher being in the red. I think he's probably wearing red is what we were talking about there. But I tell you what, I think that's the first time that Michael Schumacher has done that for us all year, and it just shows what a relaxed frame of mind he's in.
Do you know what? He says that he's more nervous playing football than he is driving his racing car, and you can believe that when you see the Mr. Ice Cool Man. He plays for Auban in Switzerland. I think they lost 6-1 last time they played. There's a big contrast between the two championship protagonists here. Hakkinen has been costed away yet again, and he's been hiding in the motorhome. Whether the team is saying to him, keep him out of the way, or it's his preference to do that, I don't know. But Mick is looking very nervous. But once he gets in the car, I'm sure he'll be fine.
Right. Let's go down to Louise. She's got with him a driver who produced his best qualifying performance ever. Eddie Irvine. On you go, Lou.
Thanks, Jim. Believe it or not, Mr. Cool and oh so casual behind me here actually gets quite tense before the start of the race. I used to hold his brolly on the grid when we worked together at Jordan. He never used to say a word then. Let's see if I can get a word out of him now. Eddie, first of all, congratulations. First time on the front row. Clear view ahead of you, but you are on what's, theoretically speaking, the dirty side of the track. It rained this morning. Is that going to mean that this side of the track is now, you know, there's no advantage whichever side you're on?
Oh, this side looks pretty good. It is the dirty side, but it doesn't look a problem. If I make a bad start, though, I might use it as an excuse.
You clearly had the pace on the McLarens yesterday in qualifying. The warm-up this morning, though, they were quickest. Are you worried about that?
We don't really look what they're doing. We know if we've got a good balance that we should be quick in the race. And this morning, we felt the car was pretty good. So, you know, the warm-up, they change tyres, they run less fuel, who knows. But we're fairly confident we'll be as quick as them in the race.
You look quite calm and relaxed. Is that how you're feeling?
Well, I've got a very good clutch. I've made good starts all weekend, so I want to, you know, now's the important one. Let's hope I carry the momentum through.
Have a good afternoon.
And there's a thumb up from David Coulthard. Disappointing performance in qualifying. Went a lot better this morning, did David Coulthard. I think it's fair to say, Tony, that Michael Schumacher hasn't taken many wrong turns since he arrived at the Nürburgring, but we got an interesting bit of footage of him, didn't we?
Yes. Well, we know he's a bit of a ladies' man, but he did take a wrong turn there, and he kept wafting the door, so clearly there were a lot of exhaust fumes in there.
Yes, I would think the absolutely delighted he had a camera on him there. What about the strategy for this afternoon's Grand Prix? James Allen's going to tell us all about that.
Don't be fooled by appearances. Michael Schumacher may look relaxed, but an incident in a practice pit stop this morning shows just how close to the edge he really is. Mika Häkkinen has kept out of the spotlight, and today looks determined to face his moment of truth. Well, strategy-wise, McLaren say they're going to take the fight to Ferrari this afternoon. I'm expecting 2 stops from most of the front runners, but Mika Häkkinen here may have to move to 3, as Schumacher did in Hungary, if he gets stuck behind Eddie Irvine at the start. Now, on intermediate tyres, if it starts to rain, Goodyear over a second a lap ahead, so watch out for that. And also watch out for Giancarlo Fisichella. On a dry track, he's very, very fast.
Thank you, James. And it's dry at the moment. Is this man going to deliver what over 140,000 people want? We're going to find out in just a few minutes' time when the Luxembourg Grand Prix will be underway.
Oh, let's see that again. Let's see that again. Let's see that again.
Let's look at that again, and this basement is going crazy.
Let's see that again. I don't think we need to see that again. All right, let's see that again. Let's see that again.
F1 World Grand Prix with instant replay. Revel in your victories, wallow in your defeats.
Oh, and the presentation of the second place trophy. Let's see that again.